Hi guys, it's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 4:23 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the FBI, DHS, and the National Counterterrorism Center. So yesterday they posted this public service announcement warning about terror attacks through the holiday season and throughout winter. They specifically mention lone actor violence targeting large public gatherings throughout the winter, including holiday related, faith based New Year's Eve and First Amendment protected events related to the conflict going on in the Middle East. Okay, so I want to just read to you what they wrote here, but I've been warning you guys for weeks now to be on high alert. I've been telling you guys to be aware of your surroundings, avoid large public gatherings where you have a lot of people crammed into a small area. That's like the textbook terrorist attack, is to go after mass gatherings where you have a lot of people packed into a small area so they can inflict the maximum amount of casualties. So avoid those types of areas if you can. And anytime you go out into a public area, especially a large city, be aware of your surroundings, use your peripheral vision, make sure you know where cover and concealment is at all times. Be aware of exits. So if you have to get out of an area, you can get out quickly, and carry self-defense tools if it's legal to do so in your area. So let me read to you what they wrote here. The FBI, DHS, and the National Counterterrorism Center assess that ongoing tensions related to the conflict between Israel and Hamas likely heighten the threat of lone actor violence targeting large public gatherings throughout the winter, including holiday-related, faith-based New Year's Eve and First Amendment protected events related to the conflict. Although this announcement is not in response to any specific plotting activity, these targets likely remain attractive to lone actors inspired by a range of ideologies due to their accessibility and symbolic nature. Since the Hamas attack on October 7th, various foreign terrorist media organizations have called for lone actor attacks in the United States. Racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists have also increased calls for violence and celebrated attacks on the Jewish community. Lone actors may seek to disrupt or escalate violence at large gatherings, high profile events, or symbolic or religious locations throughout the winter. Such gatherings could become a convenient target for those inspired to commit violence against Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Arab communities. Hate crime perpetrators have also played a role in violence and threats of violence. There has been a spike in reporting on potential hate crimes or other criminal violations from the public, local law enforcement partners, and other private or public sector partners since October 7th. We have also observed an increase in hoax, bomb, and active shooter threats targeting synagogues across the United States, likely intended to disrupt services and intimidate congregants. Calls for violence may increase in the days leading up to the holidays and before other notable events this winter. Factors that could further exacerbate the threat of violence include escalations in the conflict between Israel and Hamas and notable instances of violence in the homeland inspiring copycat or retaliatory attacks. We therefore urge everyone to remain vigilant and to report any threats of violence or suspicious activity to law enforcement. Okay? So this is huge, guys. I've been warning you for weeks now that this could happen. And about a week ago, the FBI director had a hearing. The Senate was asking him questions about the threat of terrorism now since the war started in Gaza. And he said he's never seen the amount of threats that he's been dealing with now, he hasn't seen in his entire career. And he said that it's equivalent to before 9/11. We had a commissioner in the EU also warn of terror attacks in the EU. just about a week ago as well. Now we have this bulletin coming out. We've already had multiple mysterious house explosions. One of them was just a few miles from downtown DC. On Thanksgiving Eve, we had that strange situation in Niagara Falls where a car drove towards a border crossing checkpoint with Canada. The New York governor has mobilized the National Guard of New York and the New York State Police to patrol Jewish communities and religious centers like synagogues and also holiday celebrations. So things are about to happen, guys. Okay, get prepared. This is very, very serious. Before I continue with the breaking news, I just want to mention how you can enter the 100,000 subscriber giveaway, and you don't have to spend money or do anything. It's very simple. You just go to my YouTube channel, just type in NYPrepper in the search box when you get to YouTube from your desktop or your phone, and you just go to my main page and you want to click on the community tab. Okay, you see community here. You click on that and you're going to see a post that I made. It says 100,000 subscriber giveaway. And all you're going to do is reply to this post, and not under this video, but you want to reply under this post in my community tab. You want to answer the question. The question is, what year did I post my first video on YouTube? And then you want to post your state. Okay, so answer the question and then list your state where you live. Okay, so I'm going to read off the winners later on this week, probably over the weekend on Saturday. And we had an incident this morning again in the Red Sea. If you missed my update earlier, I just want to recap what happened. We had a tanker ship attacked by missiles and skiffs full of armed people. Apparently, the Houthi rebels are responsible for this attack. This tanker had jet fuel on it, and they fired 2 missiles at it, and they tried to force it to go to the port in Yemen. The private security force on this jet fuel tanker was able to repel the skiffs full of armed people, okay, essentially pirates. So, thank God that they had a security force. Otherwise, they would have been in trouble. And then the USS Mason, a warship in the area, responded to the situation and had a drone launched towards it from Yemen as well. And it shot that drone down. So things are really escalating in the Red Sea. Israel has already warned the United States that if the U.S. doesn't do anything about the Houthis and these attacks on the ships in the Red Sea, then Israel's going to have to do something, because essentially what Yemen is doing is they're blockading part of Israel, okay? Because Israel uses the Red Sea for commerce, to conduct business, because if they don't go through the Red Sea, they would somehow have to go around all of Africa if they want to go to Asia, or if there's boats coming in from Asia. Okay, they have to go through the Red Sea. That's really the only way to get to Israel, unless they go all the way around Africa, which is extremely inconvenient and expensive. So they're basically blockading part of Israel, but this is very serious, guys, okay? It's continuing to escalate in the Red Sea, and the U.S. and a bunch of NATO countries are going to be setting up a task force called Task Force 153. 15 countries are going to deploy their warships to the Red Sea, and Israel has already deployed one of their corvettes. And last night and early this morning, 2 U.S. nuclear bombers flew across the Atlantic Ocean and potentially landed in Turkey or somewhere in Europe. And one of the bombers had a call sign Death 31. So it looks like the U.S. is moving stealth bombers to the Middle East, to Europe. Okay, this is very serious. We know that the U.S. already moved B-1s to Turkey a few weeks back. Now they're moving B-2s. So it's possible that the U.S. is going to conduct some kind of massive strike on the Iranian militants in Iraq and potentially Yemen, and who knows, maybe even Iran. but stealth bombers would be an excellent choice for an attack on Iran or the Iranian militias that are attacking U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria, and also Yemen. Okay, so very serious. 2B2 stealth bombers, nuclear bombers being moved across the Atlantic Ocean. And there was also another incident this morning with some kind of cargo ship or tanker ship. This one was off the coast of Oman, so in a different area. And apparently, some pirates in 5 to 6 small boats were following this ship, and they had powerful outboard motors. And then eventually, looks like they gave up their pursuit of the cargo ship or tanker ship. Here we have 3 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air right now. Okay, one is over Oregon, one is over Montana, and one is over Arkansas and Oklahoma. So our nuclear forces are still on high alert. We had a B-1 nuclear bomber flying over northern Texas, and it got aerially refueled by a KC-135 tanker. And 2 days ago, we had 6 nuclear war command and control planes in the air. So our nuclear forces are on high alert, guys. Okay, make no mistake about it. Okay, we sent B-2s over the pond last night. This morning, we had 6 nuclear war command and control planes airborne 2 days ago. We also had 4 B-52 nuclear bombers airborne over the U.S. like 3 days ago. So there is some kind of a buildup here, okay? Here we have a recording of the B-2 stealth bomber communicating with a control tower, possibly in Turkey and also here in the U.S. So let me just play this for you.
Gander radio, Jet 3-1. How do you read this transmitter?
Jet 3-1, Gander radio, read you 3x4. How do you read Gander?
Jet 3-1 has you broken but readable.
Gander radio, roger. Go ahead.
Jet 3-1, we're looking for a hotel box frequency for our oceanic crossing.
3-1, Gander radio, do you have a position report or an estimate for Gander at this time?
It's broken and unreadable.
5, 6, 1, 6, or 8, 8, 9er 1.
And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, they have brought back their 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the discount, you have to use the link preparewith.NYPrepper.com. And the link is in the description below this video. And this 3-month emergency food supply has a 25-year shelf life, and it's all contained within 6 rugged, watertight buckets. So it doesn't take up a lot of space. Pretty much anyone can find the space in their home to fit 6 buckets, and it'll cover you for 3 months. And it's a variety of food, lunches, breakfasts, dinners, drinks, snacks, free shipping included, 25% off their normal price. Use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get the discount. They also have a 2-week emergency food supply, which is excellent for outdoorsmen or people who go vehicle camping. You don't have to worry about rotating anything. You don't have to worry about your preps going bad. Just store this stuff in a temperature stable location, not too cold, not too hot, stable throughout the year, and it will last 25 years. They also have a general store. If you click the My Patriot Supply logo at the top of the page when you get to preparewithnyprepper.com, it'll take you to their general store where they have everything you can imagine, from potassium iodide to water filters, solar generators, solar panels, survival seeds, fire starters, anything you can imagine, it's all there. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get 25% off of the My Patriot Supply 3-month freeze-dried food supply. And the link is in the description below this video.
And Gander still coming in, broken in, readable. If you could relay through another aircraft on guard, we'll copy you down there.
Gander radio, roger, break. Any station for Gander on 122.375.
So here's the stealth bomber requesting for another radio station or control tower, and then they reach a Turkish radio station, and then the operator of the U.S. radio station communicates with the Turkish one and basically tells the Turkish one to be in touch with the B-2 pilot, okay? So very, very serious, guys. B-2 stealth bombers moved to Europe or the Middle East, possibly. We had NATO monitoring Estonia earlier this morning, and we know that Estonia put anti-tank obstacles along their border with Russia. They put dragon's teeth, which are like 2 to 3 foot tall concrete pyramids designed to stop armored vehicles and tanks. And the U.S. Department of Defense has provided 3,000 JDAM missiles to Israel since October 7th. CNN is reporting, according to an informed source. So this is a JDAM. A JDAM is basically a bomb that can be guided to a target. It's very precise. It has a very large warhead. It does a lot of damage. 3,000 JDAMs, guys. That's insane. And we know that Biden signed an emergency sale to Israel of 14,000 tank shells for Israel's main battle tank. Guys, you don't need 3,000 JDAMs and 14,000 tank shells to deal with some terrorists hiding in tunnels. Okay, there's something else going on here. Potentially, they're going to attack Hezbollah, and they need a lot of firepower in order to do that. Here we have a picture showing some smoke in southern Lebanon from Israeli airstrikes this morning. And the UK could be brought to a halt at any moment by a cyber attack, a new report warns. The Joint Committee on the National Security Strategy says that large swaths of critical infrastructure in the UK are vulnerable to ransomware attack. And this report is coming out just a day or two after the US broke the news that Chinese hackers have installed backdoors into all of our critical infrastructure, basically, and that if there was ever a war, they could go into those back doors and shut us down and overload things and destroy our infrastructure. So very, very serious, guys. So what's the writing on the wall telling us with all these warnings we're getting from these high-profile figures? They're telling us terrorism. They're telling us war. They're telling us cyber attack. Okay, so those are the three things that I'm very concerned about right now: terrorism, war, and cyber attack. Okay. A wartime opinion poll among Palestinians published today shows a rise in support for the Hamas terror group, even in the devastated Gaza Strip, and an overwhelming rejection of the Western-backed Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, with nearly 90% saying he must resign. The Palestinian Authority administers part of the West Bank and governed Gaza until a takeover by Hamas in 2007. The Palestinians have not held elections since 2006, when Hamas won a parliamentary majority. The poll shows 57% of respondents in Gaza and 82% in the West Bank believe Hamas was correct in launching its October 7 onslaught. Wow, guys, 82% of Palestinians in the West Bank believe that Hamas was justified in launching their horrific attack on Israel on October 7th. So we could see some chaos breaking out in the West Bank. This could really spill over into other regions, guys. And a nuclear expert from the UK is warning that radioactive substances could be smuggled out of Ukraine's besieged nuclear power plants and end up being used to create dirty bombs for terror attacks in the UK if border security is not tightened across NATO territory. A nuclear expert has warned. Dr. Bahram Gaisi, a nuclear scientist warned that the unprecedented aerial attacks on Ukrainian nuclear power plants by Russian soldiers during the war have severely undermined the facility's security. Dr. Gaisi, an associate fellow at the Henry Jackson Society think tank, said this increases the risk of terrorists, proxy groups acting for hostile states, and organized crime syndicates gaining access to the radioactive substances. He warned that terrorists could then illicitly traffic the nuclear materials through Europe and into the UK, where they can be used for assassinations or construct radioactive dirty bombs for terror attacks in major cities such as London. Such devices could be used in attacks on crowded public events and transport hubs in London and other major cities. Dr. Gaisi said in a report exclusively seen on the Mail Online. He warned that given that 45,000 migrants entered the UK illegally in 2022, there is a real risk that radioactive substances could easily be smuggled into the UK for malicious activities. Alarmingly, there are more than 3,000 spent nuclear fuel rods containing highly radioactive substances and plutonium stored inside metal casks inside towers at Zaporizhia, which are vulnerable to aerial attack. All right, 3,000 spent nuclear fuel rods at the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, and 45,000 migrants entered the UK illegally in 2022 last year. Okay, so if they can do that in the UK, imagine what they can do here. I mean, our southern border is wide open. I mean, they could easily smuggle stuff in through the southern border, from Ukraine and carry out some kind of an attack. In South Korea, Defense Minister Shin Won-sik met representatives of 8 member states of NATO on Wednesday to expand cooperation in security and the defense industry. Shin held the meeting with the NATO representatives of the US, Britain, Italy, Denmark, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, Romania, and Poland, who began a 3-day visit to Seoul earlier in the day. All right, so very interesting. South Korea is getting closer and closer to NATO now. They've made a ton of sales to Poland. They sold Poland like 1,000 tanks and a few dozen fighter jets and a couple hundred of the Chunmo South Korean HIMARS, essentially is what they are. So South Korea is getting closer to NATO now. The Pentagon is taking the first step to deploy electromagnetic pulse weapons against drone attacks, a sign of its concern about enemy drone fleets and acceptance of EMP warfare. The Air Force is taking the lead in asking industry leaders if a weapon system is available or can be built to take out small drones or unmanned aerial vehicles. The Air Force Research Laboratory is conducting market research to seek information from industry on the landscape of research and development for available EMP solutions towards countering multiple unmanned aircraft systems. Very interesting. Finland's government says it will reopen 2 crossings on its border with Russia after closing all 8 roads between the 2 countries in late November to prevent an influx of asylum seekers. So they only reopened 2 border crossings with Russia. And the head of the Belarusian KGB is claiming that 7 suspects in Poland are preparing to seize objects and carry out terror attacks in Belarus. And also they're claiming that the CIA has infiltrated Belarus. So very interesting. And in Poland, there's a new prime minister, Donald Tusk. He actually used to be the prime minister of Poland like 10 years ago until the current conservative government took over. And apparently he's been changing the leadership of all of Poland's intelligence services. And he's been doing personnel purges in all different areas of the Polish government, including the Ministry of Defense. So we'll have to wait and see how this affects Poland's defense posture, because the current conservative Polish government is very strong on defense. And under Donald Tusk 10 years ago, Poland was very weak, and they didn't have a lot of focus on building up Poland's military. Their whole strategy was get closer to NATO, get closer to the EU, and make friends with Putin. That was their strategy, diplomacy. And the conservative government, believed in peace through strength, building up their military. So we'll have to see how this is going to affect Poland's military and their defense posture. And 53 people have been injured in a Russian attack on the capital of Ukraine. A Russian missile attack against Kyiv during the early hours of December 13th, which is today, injured 53 people. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said on his official Telegram channel. At least 20 people were taken to the hospital, including 2 children. Ukraine downed 10 drones and 10 missiles that were launched by Russia overnight. Ukrainian forces downed 10 Shahed kamikaze drones and 10 ballistic missiles, the Air Force reported. The drones were launched from Crimea, and almost all of them were downed over the Odessa Oblast. And a massive hacker attack was reported on December 12th on one of Ukraine's largest banks, Monobank. The company's co-founder and CEO, Oleg Horakovsky, said. The news came as the Ukrainian telecom company Kyivstar said earlier in the day that it had come under a massive cyber attack that caused widespread internet and network outages. So we're seeing a lot of cyber attacks going on now, okay? They're talking about cyber attacks. This is the new thing now, okay? Here in the US, in the UK, now in Ukraine. All right, so be prepared, guys. Back everything up that you have. Okay, make sure you back up all your stuff. Russia has lost 341,000 troops in Ukraine since the beginning of its war. On February 24th, 2022, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported today. This number includes 850 Russian casualties suffered just over the past day. According to the report, Russia has also lost 5,682 tanks, 10,594 armored fighting vehicles, 10,662 vehicles and fuel tanks, 8,076 artillery systems, 919 multiple launch rocket systems, 605 air defense systems, 324 airplanes, 324 helicopters, 6,173 drones, 22 ships and boats, and 1 submarine. Those are crazy numbers, guys. I don't know how true that is, but that's what Ukraine is reporting. And the Polish border crossing with Ukraine has been unblocked. The Ukrainian truckers are now able to go through the Polish border. So some good news there. And a South Korean state-run think tank warned that North Korea could conduct a new nuclear test next year in the lead up to the U.S. presidential elections, potentially to try to intervene in the elections. And Tesla is recalling nearly all vehicles sold in the U.S., more than 2 million, to update software and fix a defective system that's supposed to ensure drivers are paying attention when using autopilot. So that's the latest breaking news that I have, guys. Make sure you enter into the 100,000 subscriber giveaway. I'll probably be back later on tonight with either another video update or I may go live. We'll see. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell icon below so you get notified when I post these updates. And until next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.